All right, folks. So as we all know, Gypsy Rose has made her grand return to the Viall Files, spewing her greatest hits, aka all of her nonsense and lies. And well, it's just comedy gold. So today we're going to dive into the juiciest bits. But before we do, please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a video. Also, I clearly don't know how to use a mic because in my last video, I was talking so close to it like this and it sounded terrible. So I'm still trying to get the logistics sorted out. I'm still trying to figure out how to get nice, clean, crisp audio. If any of you guys have some tips for me, please let me know. I'm working on it. I don't want my audio sounding like I'm stuck in a can of tomato soup. And just a quick thought. Does anyone else think it's odd that out of all the amazing popular podcasts out there, Gypsy Rose has chosen to go on the Viall Files, not just once, but twice? Before her appearance, I had never even heard of this podcast, and honestly, I don't know anyone else who has. But it is clear that the episodes that she's on are their most viewed videos. So it does kind of make me wonder why she would choose to go on that podcast specifically. But I guess more importantly, why would they choose her to be on their podcast? I mean, in my opinion, it really just shows that for them, it's all about money. Because after all, they chose to have her on not once, but twice. After all this information has been out and easily accessible about her, they still chose to have her on again. And isn't it embarrassing to think that just 9 months ago, you were on this very same podcast with your husband, and now 9 months later, here you are with another man sitting there pregnant with said man's baby. I mean, I'm not going to lie, I would be quite embarrassed. So here she is back on the Viall Files being interviewed. Though you can hardly call this an interview. They're just allowing her to spin her tales. They're not challenging her on anything. There's no accountability. There's nothing. Just a boring ass nothing burger of an episode. But nonetheless, let's get into it. All right, so when the podcast kicks off, they ask Gypsy how she's been feeling during her pregnancy, and then they turn to Ken and ask him how he feels knowing he's going to be a first-time dad. And guys, his response is so awkward. You just have to see this.
Ken, how are you?
I'm feeling good.
You're feeling good. Congratulations to you as well.
Yeah,
how does it feel to be about to be a new dad?
I mean, it's exciting. It's a little bit nerve-wracking too, being a first-time parent. But honestly, like I think the excitement overwhelms like the the nervousness.
Yeah.
But I mean, as the months tick down, we're just a few months away, and honestly, I couldn't be more thrilled. So
Yeah. What's going on with his hands? Ken, you're on a podcast. I know you're used to playing video games all day, but focus. This isn't a gaming session. You're not holding a PS4 remote. I couldn't be more thrilled. Then Ken gets asked how he deals with the critics online, and he literally says that they just stay offline. Come on. We all know that is such a lie.
The first part to your question is as far as like the internet goes, like we do stay off of it too, like for the most part. Or it's changed a lot over the last few months. I think in the beginning, I did want to go and like read comments a lot, and a part of me wanted to be defensive and think that I could just clear the air and just like set the record straight. But that's just not really how the internet works.
Mm-mm.
And I think I've learned.
You can never fight with the
I've learned that
internet.
lesson
Yeah.
now. It's like once they've made up their mind, it's like truth doesn't even matter. It's irrelevant.
Mhm.
Speculation and drama is where it's at.
No, Ken, the truth would be enough. But the fact of the matter is, Gypsy's never told the truth in her entire life. And she says so herself. Gypsy, Ken, and in fact, that entire family are glued to their phone screens. They're always popping up on the comments of videos. They're always in lives. So for Ken to say they stay off the internet is crazy. Guys, you're not going to believe what Gypsy says next.
And I had to realize and that like doing something for myself felt very wrong. And following my heart just seemed like a selfish thing to do. And
Gypsy. Gypsy, let's be real. You've been doing stuff for yourself your entire life. Every decision you've ever made is about you and what you wanted. You even killed your own mom because you wanted the freedom to do what you wanted to do, or who you wanted to do, I should say. Allegedly, in my opinion. Let's continue.
And I had a really good conversation with my stepmom, Christy, and she told me that, after so many years of not being able to make my own choices and put myself first, that I should make a choice for myself.
You always put yourself first. What are you talking about, girl? You only have ever in your entire life put yourself first. You've put yourself first by manipulating Nick and convincing him to kill your mom because you didn't want to take the fall for it. You had your mom killed because you wanted to do what you wanted to do. Then you put yourself first and married Ryan because you wanted a place to stay, allegedly, when you got out of prison. Then you put yourself first by committing adultery, even though you claim you didn't, and cheated on your husband with Ken. And then you put yourself first by leaving Ryan. Oh yeah, and your dog Pixie that you wanted so badly. You fought with Ryan. You even put yourself before your own dog. Some might say you're even putting yourself first before your child because you very well know that it might be slightly dangerous for you to be having a baby, Miss Gyp Gyp. But that's all I'll say about that.
And, even though I wasn't really sure where his viewpoint of it was going to be, I had to make a choice for the heart. And so that is when I'm like, okay, I realize where my heart is. I don't want to stay with someone just because they're happy. I need to be happy too.
Yeah.
And I think the selfish thing would have been to stay in a relationship and not let Ryan move on.
Oh, Gypsy, you're so selfless. You led Ryan on. You married him, and then you left him and got pregnant by another man. And now you're letting him move on? Let's not pretend like this is some noble sacrifice.
So I ended the marriage, filed for divorce, and then that's when Ken and I reconnected after the fact. As friends, we had a weekend together to see kind of where our...
After the fact? No. You were still living with Ryan. In fact, Ryan found out in that leaked Lifetime episode that you had been talking to Ken for months when you were still living with Ryan.
We with this, it was our first time actually having any outside of prison time. And we realized that flame, that love, everything is still there. And so he came back to visit a month later. And that's essentially the weekend that we got pregnant.
Oh, okay.
Yes, of course.
Barf. Ugh. Okay, so then Gypsy starts diving into the logistics and the conversations that happened after she found out she was pregnant.
The excitement was there, all those emotions were there, but the conversations that were had afterwards was more about the technical things. So I am still living with my parents in Cutoff, which is an hour away from him. So we're like, and I'm going to be living there until I'm off of parole. So we're like, okay, how is this going to work whenever the baby's born? Like, how many days could I spend with you? And how many days can you spend with me? Who will she be with? As we're going back and forth and we're doing kind of essentially co-parenting.
What do you mean, who will she be with? You're her mother. The way she says this is so bizarre to me. I have never in my life heard a mother ask who her newborn baby will be with. It's just insane. I mean, a baby can technically survive without a father, though I'm not advocating for that. But a baby needs their mother, especially in those early stages. Establishing a bond with your baby is so important. So the fact that she's even questioning it kind of just seems to me that she's already trying to pawn her baby off with Ken. I just can't believe she's asking who will she be with? Bitch, you. So then, this part just tickled my pickle. Gypsy claims she has a lot of great women in her life. And then she gives an example. And guess who she names as this example of a great woman? Wait for it. Christy. I'm not kidding. She names Christy. Just watch.
I don't have concerns of any kind that my trauma from the past will affect my ability to parent.
Okay.
I have a lot of great women in my life. I have my stepmother, Christy. I have friends. His mother.
His mother, Gypsy, his mother can't stand you. I have a whole video on that, and we heard her firsthand in a live with Morbid say that she doesn't want her son being with someone like you. And also, she says she has friends that will be there for her. Really, Gypsy? What friends? Who? Bree? Is that your support system of great women? Yeah, good luck.
I'm very close with his mother, so I have all these strong women.
Your sister. She
Yes, my
seems like a
sister.
very...
If your idea of a great woman is Christy, that's fucking wild. The woman who meddled in your marriage and convinced you to leave your husband for another man and then get pregnant with said man. That's the great woman you speak of? Got it. Then the topic of marriage comes up.
The fact that you're having children together.
There's no exception for that.
What if you got, and not to add any pressure, but what if you got married?
Then we could.
Then we could.
Technically,
Then
we
we could.
could.
Okay.
So.
And I'm assuming those are conversations you guys deliberated over.
We talk about it for
Yeah.
sure.
I have my own opinion about that, which I have shared.
Can you share with us?
I don't like having those conversations.
Okay.
Number one, I'm still going through the divorce, which will be finalized sometime this month.
Okay.
However, I'm not the type of person to say, okay, just because we're having a child means you have to marry me. I'm not the type of person to tell you how to live your life. Like, I don't want to be that person to say, you will marry me. You will, I will move in with you. He has his own life. And if he wants to marry me, he will propose. He will make his own decisions based on what he wants to do. So I don't put my input in.
Okay. So let me get this straight. You're not the type of person to pressure him to marry you. But you are the type of person to allegedly marry someone just so you can have a place to stay when you're released from prison. And you are the type of person to talk to another man behind your husband's back. And you are the type of person to leave your husband and pursue a relationship with another man while you're still married. And you are the type of person to get pregnant by another man. Meanwhile, you, again, are still married. And you are the type of person to manipulate and convince a man with autism to murder your mom, but pressure someone to marry you? Oh, no. You're not that type of person. Wow, Gypsy, how noble of you. Please give me a break. Now take a listen to what Gypsy says when Ryan's name comes up.
Gypsy, we kind of watched you go back and forth with Ryan on social media.
Mm-hmm.
At what point were you like, I'm done with this, I've got to stop?
I mean, honestly, I have been trying to have a very civil conversation with Ryan about everything because we don't communicate often. And I think that I really just wanted to have that, closure, that one conversation that kind of closed everything up. And we had that. Unfortunately, I feel like I'm in a place of higher healing and an elevated healing than he is right now. And so I've kept my distance, hoping that he could find that happiness and that healing for himself. What I want for him is to find his happiness in whatever form that is. And I encourage that.
Gypsy, just because you got some new dick doesn't mean you're in a place of higher, elevated healing. You just jumped from one man to the next. In fact, you can make an argument that Ryan is in a place of elevated healing because he didn't just jump into the next relationship or rush to have a baby with someone else. I mean, sure, he talks about Gypsy often, but if we're talking about true healing, he's taking some time to heal and work on himself before getting involved with anyone else. And that's a much healthier approach. Then Nick asked Gypsy what her favorite holiday has been since she's been out of prison. And just wait until you hear her response.
What has been your favorite holiday to celebrate so far? Because so far they're all been kind of firsts in terms of being out of prison.
They really have. My birthday. Actually, I know it's not a holiday, but
Of course it's her birthday. Of course. Why wouldn't it be? Such a narcissist.
no,
That's right, yeah, it is.
in the past, birthdays for me have been complicated. And in prison, the last 8.5 years, my birthdays have been nothing more than my roommates making me a paper card.
Oh, for your last few birthdays, all you got was a paper card? You know who didn't even get a paper card for their birthday? Dee Dee. In fact, for her last few birthdays, actually, she's been dead. Oh yeah, because she was killed by her daughter. Talk about horrible birthdays, huh? Oh my God. Anyways, check out Gypsy's next lie. This one is wild.
I thought it was so sweet.
Prison one of the first birthdays you had that you knew your age going
It
into
was.
Okay.
It was. So, once I was told my real age,
Gypsy, you knew your real age the entire time. You found out your real age years before you decided to kill your mother. She thinks we're stupid. Next, Nick asked Gypsy what she's most excited about in terms of being a mom.
What are you most excited about in terms of being a mom?
honestly, I'm most excited about sharing things with my daughter that like I didn't get to do. So it's like all those little milestone moments. I'm so excited for.
Sharing things that you didn't get to do. Gypsy, you've done more in your childhood than anyone I know. You went to Disney, got written to and donations from celebs. You even got a free house. You had all kinds of fun experiences as a kid. So please save the pity party. Then, of course, Gypsy's asked about the conversations she's going to have with her daughter in the future about you know what. And, of course, she has to take this opportunity to talk about her memoir.
I think you even mentioned last time we talked when you were just speculating about the possibility of one day being a mom. But obviously, at some point, you will have to have a conversation with your daughter. You're a long way away from that,
Right.
obviously. What thoughts have you put into that? And do you have a plan of how you might address your past with your daughter?
Yeah, of course. I mean, that was something that's been on the forefront of my mind even before I got pregnant. Is that conversation is going to come up someday, and how do I want to address that? How do I want to handle that?
And how do I want to spin the story and make Dee Dee the villain?
And I feel like when she is of the right age to understand, we are going to sit her down together. And also with my dad and Christy, we have that support there, and we're going to explain things in a way that's not overwhelming, but enough to where she understands where my life was at that time and how did I get there? Because obviously I didn't get there overnight. So, with that being said, with love and care
And lies.
and consideration, I mean, we have a long time to prepare for that, to know what words need to be said. But also, that's why it was so important for me to also write my story in a memoir, because she could read it for herself and see that, I'm not this monster.
Yes, you are.
I'm not the person that they say on social media.
Yes, you are.
I'm not any of those things. My memoir is a true form of my soul and everything that I had been through.
Gypsy, your soul is an empty black hole.
So I am taking all of these steps to make sure that she has every source of information she needs from the right places.
Yeah, I was going to ask if she wants to watch any of these shows or documentaries. Is that like why don't you just read my book first?
I mean,
Yeah.
I fully encourage looking at someone's life in the most truest form. So I'm in support of documentaries. So if she wants to watch my documentaries, I'll let her when she's old enough.
Right.
And reading my book. That's and talking to us. Like, I'm an open book.
How about Nick Godejohn's trial? Can she watch that? How about your interrogation video? Can she watch that? You're an open book, right? Didn't think so.
An open book. Any questions that she has, we want her to feel comfortable to ask us.
Is there any part of you that thinks about the relationship your mom would have with her? Yeah.
I mean, for me, it is heartbreaking because I do, from time to time, think about what could have been. And it makes me sad. So I kind of put that in the back of my mind.
If your mom was really this horrible, evil monster like you claim she was, then why the hell would you want your daughter to have the opportunity to have met her? If she was such a terrible person and guilty of all the things you claim, then why would this make you sad? Guys, think about that for a second. When have you ever heard a victim of abuse say that they wish their children had a chance to have met their abuser? What? No. If you were truly abused, you would say, I don't want my child near that person. That's why the story with Kate Marie is fishy, because she claims that she was a victim of Munchausen by proxy and that her mom was this evil monster just like Gypsy's mom was, and yet she still allowed her mom to babysit her own daughter. That's how you can spot a liar, folks. Nobody who is a victim of abuse is going to willingly allow their perpetrator near their child. It's absolutely insane. And the fact that she says, oh yeah, it makes me sad that my daughter won't have a chance to meet my mother that put me through this horrible medical abuse, my mother who supposedly abused me for years and years, didn't tell me how old I was, who forced me to have all these unnecessary surgeries, who forced me to have a feeding tube, who took out my salivary glands, who shaved my head, who forced me to have my teeth pulled. That makes me sad that she won't be able to meet my daughter. Be so fucking for real right now. Does this sound real to you? Come on. Anyway, sorry for that tangent. Let's continue.
And so, I mean, there has been questions on social media. Everybody asks the question, what are you going to tell your daughter whenever grandma isn't around? And I said, my response to them is that Christy has become more of a mother to me than my own mother was. So Christy is going to be grandma. Yeah. And so that question really won't be a pest in our face as much as they think.
A bullshit question. I mean, a lot of people, unfortunately, have had grandparents pass.
No, Nick. You know what's a bullshit question? All of the questions on this podcast, all these softball questions that you're asking right now, these are bullshit questions. You're annoying.
Pass away.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, like River, our daughter, won't be able to, she has one grandparent around. It's as a bullshit.
Great grandparent.
Great
She's
grandparent.
got both of
Oh,
her. My parents and your parents are both alive.
Those are my parents. I'm an asshole. But you get my point.
Yes. So,
a lot of people don't
kind of
have grandparents
question.
around.
Yes.
It's a bullshit question. It's an unfair question. But I mean, thank you for answering it. But are there other questions or comments out there that, not that you ever need to address, but annoy you that you almost want to feel compelled to answer because you don't like what people are suggesting?
Oh, of course. I mean, I get, negative comments all the time. And the one thing that I just irritates me is the fact that people really have this stigma on, new parents that have come from a life of trauma.
No, Gypsy. People don't have a stigma against new parents who come from a life of trauma. People have a stigma against new parents who murdered their own parents. What the hell are you talking about?
And the stigma of, you had been through this, so you're going to continue on that cycle with your child. I think that's so unfair to put that on someone.
No, it's not unfair. It's a legitimate question people have. If you murdered your mom, can we really trust that this baby will be safe in your care? You're a murderer. If you don't want the stigma and you don't want to be called a murderer, then maybe you shouldn't have committed or conspired to murder. I know you don't like it, and I know you want to rewrite your past, but that's just not possible. You are a murderer, and you will always be known as a murderer. You will never be able to change that. That is the most horrible thing someone can ever do in society. That is something we have all agreed on. We've all accepted as a whole that there are certain lines that we don't cross, and murder is one of them. And you are the demon who crossed it. Therefore, I don't, some people get on me for being mean or too harsh and a bully. And it's like, guys, she is a murderer. What don't you understand about that? And, and people try to defend her by saying, oh, she was put through abuse, blah, blah. Prove it. Please prove it. Because you can't, okay? Look into it. Watch her interrogation. Watch Nick Godejohn's trial. Watch all the videos Becca Scoops has on her channel.
Because I'm a person that I'm taking the steps to make sure that I'm mentally stable enough to be a parent and heal myself.
Oh, yeah? Oh, what are those steps? What steps have you actually taken towards healing? And don't even mention therapy, because it's been well documented that you denied therapy when it was offered to you in prison. This girl's just full of lies.
And so going forward, I might not be a perfect parent. Nobody is.
Yeah.
But I am going to do the best I can and make educated choices with my child and have the support to do so.
Yeah.
Oh, educated choices. That's interesting because you haven't made any educated choices this far. In the Lifetime show, you proved you didn't even know how pregnancy worked. So how can you claim, when you've never made educated choices in your entire life, that when you become a parent, you're suddenly going to start doing so? It's ridiculous. Then Gypsy was asked about her hobbies, and check this out.
What are your hobbies these days?
Hobbies have been sleeping. But no, seriously. Honestly, I tried to get in. I'm trying to do more like influencer videos on social media, fashion.
Nobody wants that.
Because when I first came out of prison, apparently I was very not on fashionable.
Oh no.
Like the outfits that I wore and stuff like that. Like I had friends to let me know what was trendy. But as for everyday things, I am so far behind. So now I've been sort of Googling and trying to figure out and follow the trendy stuff and make cute little makeup videos and tutorials and stuff.
Fun.
That's all you had to say when you were asked about what you've been up to and your hobbies? I thought you were an advocate for prison reform. Why haven't you mentioned anything about prison reform since you're such an advocate? Up till now, we're an hour and 11 minutes in, and she hasn't mentioned anything about prison reform. In fact, so far we've heard all about your relationship with Kim Kardashian. We've heard about your desire to travel. We've heard about your favorite holiday being your birthday. We've heard about your nose job. We've even heard about your questionable makeup and fashion choices. But not a single word on your advocacy work or prison reform. Isn't that interesting? This would have been the perfect opportunity for you to highlight all the hard work you're doing in that area. So why hasn't it come up? It's either because you're just so humble and you don't want to brag about all of your accomplishments, or you're just really not an advocate after all. And given what we've seen, I think we all know which one it is. Oh, but then suddenly, in the last 30 minutes of the interview, she finally brings it up. And guess what, guys? She talks about it for less than 1 minute. I'm not joking. This entire podcast was an hour and 45 minutes. And she talks about her advocacy work for less than 1 minute.
Are you guys getting recognized in public pretty often?
I am.
Yes.
She was way too excited to say that.
She
You're
is, for
bartending.
sure.
Are people?
It's happened a few times at where I work, but very, very seldom.
Can't shut up. You are not bartending. Come on. Allegedly. We would have had at least one person recognize you so far, but we haven't. You are not bartending, Ken. Stop lying. You play video games all day.
Okay.
And even the few times that it has, they'll come up and they'll say hi, congratulations, and they're very nice. And I will say that about even with her, everyone that we've ever met in person has always been the nicest, sweetest. It's always been a very pleasant interaction.
Oh, you mean the people you've managed to fool who don't know the truth about Gypsy yet? Those people? They'll find out soon enough. Don't worry.
That's usually how it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all the negative is strictly online. We
And
never
even the people who do say negative things, if they were to meet you, it would be very much
the opposite, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, Natalie. No, we wouldn't. Trust me.
That's like
I
the Matrix.
wonder.
It's not
I wonder
real.
sometimes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's-
Mhm.
I mean, yesterday she spoke at San Francisco State, and the entire auditorium, like standing ovation, cheering, clapping, like chanting her
Wow.
name. Like everyone just wanted to come and say hi. They were so sweet, so
And I'm sure she ate that up.
loving, and that's
so
like the
nice.
real that like I want us to focus on more is like people that we interact with in real life. You know, generally are very nice people.
Yeah, Ken, I'm sure it is easier to focus on the people that are kissing your ass and praising you rather than the people that are trying to hold you accountable. I'm sure you would rather focus on that. If I were having a baby with a murderer, I too would want people to focus on the positive, if just for my own mental sanity. But guess what, Ken? It's not just people online. And the word is traveling very quickly with videos like this and the videos that many other creators are making. So soon enough, we are going to make sure that everyone knows the truth about Miss Gypsy Rose, because she should not be out here walking around free while Nick Godejohn is still behind bars.
And do wish her the best. And so I'm thankful for that.
How was that public speaking?
It was very new. It was wonderful. It was so good to like actually like share my thoughts about prison reform and advocacy, because in so many ways when you're doing an interview for this or for that or for this Today Show, whatever, their line of questioning is what they want it to be.
Mhm.
So at least for this, the line of questioning was for a very specific reason. And it's more on the side of advocacy and global acknowledgement that, you know, our justice system is flawed. It's not fair.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. And this is about the only thing I've agreed with you on, Gypsy, in this entire interview. It isn't fair. You are totally right about that. Again, the fact that you're out here living your best life while people like the Menendez brothers and remember Nick Godejohn? While people like that are still behind bars and you're out here living your best life, getting fucked up, really highlights how flawed the system really is. Oh yeah, and Gypsy, since you're such a big advocate, you should start by fighting for Nick Godejohn to get a fair trial. Why don't you start there? Didn't think so.
So we need to start having those conversations and talking about those things.
Yeah. Have you, Ken, kind of immersed yourself into, Gypsy's passions when it comes to the advocacy that she wants to do?
Yeah, no, I fully support it. And I think that yesterday was like a really big step for her on her, quest for advocacy. And I think that it couldn't have gone better. It was an amazing, amazing experience. And I'm there for her going forward. I think she's going to do great. I think that once she's off parole, then like it's limitless at that point, and there's like a lot more options open up. But yeah, I'm fully supportive, and I know that she's going to do amazing.
Ooh, what does parole have to do with advocacy work? That's just an excuse. You've managed to do all this stuff while being on parole. You've managed to become an influencer. You've managed to get a nose job. You managed to not only get married, but get a divorce and move on to another man. You've managed to get pregnant. So she can absolutely do advocacy work while on parole. She managed to speak at this college and allegedly get paid $20,000 for it. So if she can do that, why can't she engage in other advocacy work? Oh, right, because she's not getting paid for it. It's pretty clear where her priorities lie. Then, guys, the craziest part of the episode happens when they have a caller call in for relationship advice. It's just diabolical. I mean, seriously, no one, literally not a single soul, should be asking Gypsy Rose for any type of advice, let alone relationship advice.
All right, so time for
Ooh.
texting office hours. Last time, Gypsy, when you were here,
Yay.
there was a caller who needed some relationship advice. We have someone calling in with a new problem, someone new, and we're just going to offer some advice as friends, just like we did last time.
And just absolutely pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. I don't even want to hear the question because, quite frankly, I don't care. Anyone sitting through and asking for relationship advice from Gypsy Rose really has a lot of issues on their hands, none of which have anything to do with romance. But let's just hear Gypsy's advice.
I can tell you from personal experience, if it's not there from the start, it's never going to be there. At least that's how it was for me. So it is something that you do have to prioritize your own happiness.
Oh, we know you prioritize your own happiness, Gypsy. It's pretty clear that everything revolves around you and what makes you happy. And that's been pretty evident throughout this whole thing. So then the cringy ass call wraps up, thank God, and listen to what Gypsy says next.
Pleasure. Thanks for
you.
calling in.
Bye.
I can't help but wonder, Gypsy, if you've been through so much, you're doing all the work in terms of therapy. Do you enjoy offering perspective and advice, through your experiences that you had? Because that's what we do. We're not obviously not therapists or anything like that. We're just like, we made a bunch of mistakes in life, and we're just trying to.
Oh, you mean people with zero qualifications who definitely shouldn't be giving advice at all? Got it.
Share, but do you enjoy that?
Oh, absolutely. I have gone through some experiences with relationships, maybe not a whole lot, but from what I have gathered, the relationships didn't last forever or a very long time, but I was able to at least pull experience from it and kind of learn from that.
Yeah.
Oh, really? What experiences were you able to pull from your relationship with Dan, the guy that you completely lied to about your relationship with your mom? What experiences were you able to pull from your relationship with Nick, the man with autism that you manipulated and convinced to murder your mom? What experiences were you able to pull from Ryan, the man that you manipulated into marrying you just so you would have a place to stay once you got out of prison, allegedly, and then, lied to him about talking to your ex and then getting pregnant by the guy you told him not to worry about? And what experiences were you able to pull from the guy who allegedly can't stand you and walks 20 feet in front of you, wants nothing to do with you, but are trying to pay for and buy his love? I don't know if any of those experiences are going to come in handy unless you're giving advice to somebody who wants to become a sugar mama and have a guy be with them just for money and promise rings and basically a free ride at life so they can play video games all day. Allegedly, that advice might come in handy. But other than that, any experiences that you could pull from any of your relationships are going to be very niche. Those aren't normal relationships that the everyday person is getting into. So, like I said, this podcast was just a big nothing burger. They didn't challenge her on anything. They didn't ask her any difficult or interesting questions. They clearly didn't do any research on her beforehand. Or, if they did, they didn't care because they just gave her a free pass to spin her tales without a shred of accountability. Just a complete dumpster fire and honestly, very disappointing. But hey, that's why I'm here to review it. So if you like this video, please give me a like. Please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss a video. Thanks for watching. Bye, guys.